The idea that Mark Zuckerberg runs Facebook is a joke. I mean, have you seen those staring eyes in absolute terror and that bewildered face when he's being questioned on Capitol Hill? I mean, the idea he's running a company like Facebook is ridiculous. Obviously, there are other forces involved here, and that's where you get your coordination from. That's why Amazon, and Facebook, Google, and Twitter, and Apple are all censoring in unison, because it's coordinated towards this goal of complete control of information. This whole conspiracy to enslave humanity is a psychological game. Where does human behavior come from? It comes from human perception. Where does perception come from? It comes from information received. Whether it's a personal experience, which is a form of information, whether it's a newspaper, Facebook post, or whatever, it's information received. Now, if you go deep in the shadows, beyond the politicians, you reach that level of this web where they understand, A, how reality works, they just don't want us to know, and B, how the mind works, how psychology works. And what we're looking at, because it's a few manipulating so many, the only way that you can achieve that is by controlling the perceptions of the many, and by dividing and ruling the many as well. But you've got to control the perceptions of the many. And to do that, you control information. How long could you live without your smartphone? You can't put your phone down. And if you do, within a few minutes, you pick it up again because you're addicted to it. So are you controlling that bit of technology in your hand, or is that controlling you? That's controlling you. People became addicted to Facebook, and Google became by far the biggest search engine. Then came the point where, yes, the internet is the central pillar of human society, and it's now irreversible. Who are you going to go to if not them? Who are you going to go to get any numbers watching your videos if not YouTube, owned by Google, of course? So now we're in a position of power and strength. Now the internet's going to become what it was always planned to be. Now Facebook and Google and Twitter and Amazon are now going to be what they always planned to be, which were gatekeepers on the information that people can see and hear. And because of that, human perception is increasingly being given a narrower and narrower band of information from which to form those perceptions, so perceptions are being manipulated. They had to get the internet to a point where it was the central pillar of human society. The central pillar of where all our information came from, the central pillar of control. This is why we now have the Internet of Things, where billions of pieces of technology, everything from your fridge to your car to your telly, are connected to the internet. We've been through a process of preparation, of getting people, first of all, stage one, addicted to technology that they hold, holdables, smartphones, tablets. That's basically achieved. I mean, you just have to walk through a city and you see the addiction. And they're targeting specifically the young. Why? Because the young of today and the children of today are going to be the adults when they want to bring this AI connection in full blown. For that to happen, they have to get people addicted to technology to the point where they'll accept it and where it's the most natural thing in the world. I'm coming up 67. I was born in 1952, so I have a compass. I know what the world was like before. People being born into the world now, this is the only world they've ever known. And so they don't have that compass of what the world was like before. Well, this is the world and technology, and this is how it works. So the first stage is to get people addicted to technology to the point where, at the most extreme, they'll get up in the dead of night and they'll queue, stand in line outside an Apple store to get the first of the new technology. And what they want eventually, and not too distant into the future, is people basically lining up to be connected to AI. In the same way that people in Sweden now are having parties to celebrate someone being microchipped, right? So the next stage, because the idea is to get in the body, the next stage is to get on the body. So we went from just holdables, we went to wearables, we went to Bluetooth and Google Glass and Apple Watches and all these other gadgets that go on the body now. Even what they call electronic tattoos that are basically microchips on the skin. And the next stage is to go in the body, which is already starting in places like Sweden. And the idea is to take this on, and people like Ray Kurzweil, who is a Google executive, I mean, Google and Facebook are really at the cutting edge of this stuff. People think it's a social media operation only or a search engine only. No. This whole Google group now, which is given the name Alphabet, are absolutely at the cutting edge of this whole AI technology. So is Amazon. Amazon got contracts worth hundreds of millions of dollars with the CIA and the Pentagon for cloud services and stuff.
Yeah, they have massive data services.
Massive, yeah.
Consumers don't see.
So the idea is to take this on, and what Kurzweil is saying, and he claims an 80% success rate in his predictions of incoming technology. The sales pitch is, when we connect to artificial intelligence, we'll be superhuman. That's what the sales pitch is. That's his sales pitch.
Right.
That's going
Siri,
to be the sales pitch.
Alexa, all these things.
Yeah. Well, I'll come to them in a second. They're very, very interesting, very important.
Okay.
So what you've got is the idea that connect to AI and you'll become superhuman intelligent. No, you'll become subhuman intelligent. You'll become a vehicle for artificial intelligence. And whoever controls artificial intelligence will control the perceptions of every mind that it's connected to. These Alexas and these Echoes and these so-called office assistants or personal assistants, you start to interact with them as if they're human. And now they're bringing in internet-connected toys for kids, even little kids, and Barbie dolls. They can actually have conversations with artificial intelligence. They're now bringing in these synthetic robots that are looking more and more like humans, a lot of them coming in from the East. And this is a whole psychological process of familiarizing us with artificial intelligence, to getting people to interact with it until it becomes the most natural thing in the world.
What, is this a positive thing? What if it makes us live better lives? Could it be?
Well, if you want to use artificial intelligence to make things happen in a more efficient way, well, there's an argument for that. But that's not an argument for connecting AI to the human brain and the human perceptual processes so that artificial intelligence becomes those processes. And I'm not just saying that. Ray Kurzweil says this: by 2030, the connections will start to be made between artificial intelligence and the human brain. And the human brain will be connected to what he calls the cloud. Another name for this is the smart grid, basically to artificial intelligence. And he says this too, because his sales pitch is it will be fantastic, it will be superhuman, that as time passes, artificial intelligence will be more and more of human thinking and human perception until basically it's the totality of human thinking and human perception, at which point we won't be human anymore in terms of the consciousness processes we are using today. We will be artificial intelligence. And this is the assimilation I'm talking about. And the point is that if you are connecting the human mind to a grid, a global technological grid, that grid can be centrally controlled. It will take at the center point very, very few people to run it, and even fewer to decide how it's run. I have a kind of very simple rule of thumb. When people say to me, well, what are the areas that are of the agenda? And I say, look at anything you cannot have an alternative opinion about. Look at any subject where to say something different from the official narrative, you're going to get abuse, you're going to get called a Nazi, an ist of some kind, and you're basically going to get shut down. They are the key areas of the agenda, or many key areas of the agenda. And see, this is the whole point. If I want you to believe something, or I want the public to believe something, and I know that what I'm saying is so utterly flawed in my justification of it, that if there was an open debate where all opinions, facts, and evidence could be freely available and discussed, I'm going to lose the debate. So what I want to happen is not going to happen because I'll lose the debate, because I won't be able to justify it in an open debate. What do? You don't have the debate. You shut it down.